Alright, hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about the kit for Ryoshu. Ryoshu is quite an interesting character because I did not expect her to be Tremor related, but she is bleeding Tremor, so I got half of it right. I think they are releasing quite a few hybridized characters recently. They released like Tremor Scorch, and then they also released Uma Sang, who is something like a Tremor Rupture kind of hybrid. So I think they're trying to really force Tremor into every single seater somehow with all this kind of stuff here. I'm not sure if it will actually pop off. Right now I think the team comp for Tremor Hemorrhage doesn't really exist very well. You need to burst and you need to apply bleed, and there's no other characters that in the bleed team that really will be applying any bursting, and for the Tremor team there's no other character that will be applying a lot of bleeding. But I'm thinking what they're doing is that they are basically adding Tremor, right? And then these characters, they come with bursting and they provide a bleed from their natural kit. And then what they do is they apply the bleed manually with their kit, and then after that they use the ego to apply the burst. So I think something like that could happen. Like for example, maybe like a Assault bleed ID, then you use the Tremor burst ego, some shit like that, right? Yeah, or could be the other way around also can. Yeah, so really interesting ideas I guess they're trying to push here. We have to see if they provide more support in the future. But that's basically what this ID is, right? The ID is a bleeding Tremor character, so don't be surprised if you see all this stuff here which requires bleeding plus Tremor count, bleed count. We just have to wait and see the numbers for these ones. What I want to talk about here is actually the very cool thing, which is that they put another person's skill onto this character, right? So they put Yi Sang's basically skill 3-2 onto the Ryoshu, which means that this is a possibility in the future from now on, right? So you can only access this skill 4 by putting Fel Yi Sang in the same team, and Fel Yi Sang will need to have Ryoshu as the buddy. So it's a bit like full stops, right? You want both of them together, then they get access to a combination skill called the skill number 4 over here. So combination skills should become a lot more popular in the future, a lot more frequent in the future for this kind of stuff here, which I really like, because I think the Sinners should be cooperating a lot more now that they've grown and started to trust each other a little bit more. Yep. So, other things that this character does is that she is a gaze applier. Treat gaze, this regular gaze here, like charge, but the charge is applied to your enemies, right? So you just hit people, you get gaze on them, and if you have the gaze of contempt, you will inflict more of the gaze. And to get the gaze of contempt, all you need to do is hit people with gaze or contempt on them, and then you get more gaze of contempt. So it's an infinite cycle here, right? It's like charge, but the charge is on the enemy instead. Yep. So you just hit the people that are marked, right? It's more like sank actually rather than charge, but I like to call it charge here, right? Then after that, we also have the passive here that allows you to activate the skill 4, which is for Yi Sang. This skill 4 requires you to have contempt of the gaze. If you forgot what that is, it is when you get 7 stacks of this gaze of contempt, and you can get it passively, or you can get it through activating the ego and getting a bunch of the gazes, or you can activate the gut skill. If you have enough gazes or contempts on enemies, you will actually forcefully gain contempt of the gaze. And what is so important about this is that you need to be in this state to activate the skill 4. The skill 4 wants to shoot Ryoshu, so you take some damage first, and if you lived, you get to do the big AoE slashing AoE shit, right? So what happens here is that when you get contempt of the gaze, you actually gain 7 protection and 7 damage down, which means that you are very tanky and very likely to survive the shot. And then after that, you just do the AoE damage and then kaboomy. Very spicy synergy with the Fel Bullet Yi Sang, right? So the other thing is that she also gets additional damage multipliers from Gaze itself. So Gaze will give you the ability to take and deal more damage against the enemy, right? For the gazes on the enemy, but you also have contempt of the gaze, which is a separate one. So if you just get a little bit of gaze of contempt and a little bit of gazes on the enemies, you're dealing more damage. It's like a mark on the enemy that scales over time, and you're also gaining your own charge, which is gaze of contempt. So you're gaining this as a bit of damage increase, and you're getting this on the enemy as a debuff to increase their damage taken from you. So looks like a pretty damn solid amount of damage multiplier that you can get over here. If you get too much of the gaze of contempt, however, you will get the damage down effect, and then what you should do is you should ask Yi Sang to shoot you, so you can just reset and also get that big damage, because in the end you already have 7 damage down, right? You already have 7 damage down. If you're in the contempt of the gaze, you have 7 damage down. No point hitting people. So just ask Yi Sang to shoot you at that point, because you're very tanky, but you do less damage. Yeah, so that's her whole flow, right? You're just hitting people, getting the charge or the marks on the enemies, right? Both at the same time. And then after that, when you're ready, you activate your skill 3-1, you activate your defense skill if your Yi-Sang is ready, and then Yi-Sang, you should also prepare the Taunt Memory turn, so try to get as much Taunt Memory as possible, and then unleash a big ass synergy attack here. So you need to kind of micro both of them, try to min-max both of them. You want to get a lot of the Taunt Memories on the Yi-Sang, and then you also want to get the Gay state ready, and then when they're both ready, you activate the skill 3, kaboom. That will be the maximum output that you can do with this combination over here. It's very, very cool, and I really, really like this kind of design. It requires a bit of thinking, and you really need to understand what you're trying to do over here. But this character also seems very Unga Bunga to me initially, right? The thing that you just want to throw in is basically either a bleed or a tremor team comp, because she can use either or. She doesn't need a specific amount of this or this. It's either, so you can actually put her into any of the team comps and you can still get the Unga Bunga power from her, and you can still passively get the 3-2 also, because the 3-2's trigger is just from gazing, and Yi-Sang doesn't really help you with gazing at all. So really, this character can also be pretty Unga Bunga by herself, and remember, she's getting a lot of passive multipliers from the gaze on herself and the gaze on the enemy, so it's really, really quite good. And you can basically ignore the Tremor Hemorrhage. If you have the Tremor Hemorrhage on the enemy and you're doing a bleed team, then you get the 99 bleed potency on the enemy, and then the Tremor will maybe be very, very little, but that doesn't really matter too much, right? It doesn't matter so much, right? So I think that is quite okay, right? As an additional status for the bleed team, it allows you to, I guess, stagger enemies faster, which is something that's quite useful in certain boss fights, unless you have removed the stagger bar on the enemy in Mirror Dungeon Extreme, in which case this is kind of useless, right? But whatever the case is, I think that this is quite a cool character, introduces some synergy over here. Maybe the League in the future will get more IDs that have more synergies like this, which will be very, very cool. Then we'll get 3 pages or 4 pages of just a bunch of skills on the actual skill page here. We just have to wait and see, right? Very, very cool characters so far. In addition to this character's release, we are also getting the Mirror Dungeon Extreme hidden bosses now. So you can fight hidden bosses, you can get ego gifts from fighting the hidden bosses, and there's new achievements as well for beating the hidden bosses. So this is going to be quite interesting. And then for the Extreme Adversity Ego Interference, this one is also added to the game, and now you can get the 50 plus adversity score with this one. This one multiplies ego resources consumed when using the ego. Whew, that shit's gonna hurt a lot. You better farm out a bunch of ego resources before you get to that final note, right? And then over here, all the team packs from now on are long battles instead of short battles, which is good, by the way, because you want to ramp up your ego gifts, right? You need 1 turn to pass to activate your reverberations, all of your charge activations, and so on and so forth. So the long fights are good because you fight a bit of slightly weaker enemies, you just build up a little bit of stuff, and then after that, you'll be able to Unga Bunga all of them all the way until the final one, which I think is quite okay. It's quite okay. I think for the Mirror Dungeon, there's none that I particularly despise grinding. I think anything with counters and anything with unbreakable coins you should try to avoid. So stuff like who couldn't be blood fiends, and stuff like the which one was it? I think there was one with the grandma, Ahab, I think. Yeah, you should probably try to avoid that one because Quick can one-shot you by accident. Whoops. Yep, so we just have to see how things are going to go over here. But I think they removed the Quick one already, so we should be fighting stuff that's more reasonable, I guess. I wouldn't say Extreme is reasonable at all, it's just insane. But once you get all the ego gifts, and you know what to buy, you're pretty much okay already. In addition, they also want to make ego gift activations a lot easier, which I think is a major good thing, right? That's very, very damn good. And also, if you want to know how to clear the Mirror Dungeon Extreme because you still are stuck, honestly, just building a team of Rupture for these two, building a Charge team for this one, building a Bleed team for this one, and building a Tremor team for this one, and you will basically be good to go already, right? Very, very strong options here. I've seen every one of these teams clear, as long as you know what ego gifts to buy. And to know what ego gifts to buy, the general rule of thumb here is you buy the Bleed one. Anything that has offense level down shenanigans, you go and buy. Tremor, same thing. Paralysis, offense level down, and Downpour. That's a very good combo. Fragility also from the Bell, very, very good. For the sinking team over here, you just get the anything that applies sinking so that you can make the enemy's SP lower, makes your clashing a lot easier, and then also get this one over here for the increased damage. For Poise, it's also all the clashing stuff, and then also get the clear mirror ego gift. And then for charge, if you are using a charge character like the Love and Hatred Dawn, oh my god, you get so much clashing power. It's actually insane. I think charge is probably one of the best clashes. I could Unga Bunga in the final floor of Mirror Dungeon with the charge team, especially if you get the overcharge heart. I think it was bottom left, this one over here, right? That one is insanely strong. You get like 4 clash power or some shit like that. I don't remember how much it was. It's an insane amount of clashing power, and you get more clashing power from all of these stuff over here. So just try and snipe as many of them as possible. Charge is very, very powerful, especially with the new Love and Hatred. I rolled like 69 or something on the rolls against the Reaper in the MD15. Really, really damn strong. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say over here. Once you pass the knowledge check, you can basically clear with any of these team comps already, right? Very, very, not say easy, but it's just a understanding of the game, yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. If you have any other stuff to add on to the Ryoshu understanding, feel free to, and then we shall just wait and see whether the numbers of this character are good enough. Yep. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you guys next time. Bye bye.